G'day and welcome to Inforunners. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Griffin Gaming, Stim Citizen, and Old Man Al Hurston. How you doing?
I'm going quite well, Execute. Thank you very much.
I'm going to do intros a little differently though. I'm going to also ask, what does Origin mean to you? So I'll start with you, Griff. What does Origin mean to you? Short version.
What does Origin mean to me? Distinction.
No, that is
single word.
Yeah, that's very short. But no, it is distinctive. I'll give you that. All right, Stim?
To me, it means a more enjoyable gameplay experience.
Oh, I look forward to hearing more about that. I will definitely debate you on that one. All right, and Algred, what about you? What does Origin mean to you?
Well, for Old Man Al Hurston, it's where Paulie mixes ever crack for distribution.
Right. I think for myself, I want more for it. I really do. But we'll get into that. So where do you guys want to kick this off? Because I think a lot of people have this assumption that I hate Origin, right? And that's kind of how this episode kind of came about. I think Algred's kind of in the middle ground where he doesn't love or hate. He just I don't know. You tell me, Algred, is that a reasonable assumption? You're somewhere in the middle?
I do like Origin. I really like my 890 jump.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. There are things I'd like changed on it.
So I have had a little influence on you might say.
No.
Right, we'll see.
No, I've agreed with yes. The stairs could be wider because if you've got your trophy on the side, they can't walk up the stairs with you because they're too narrow.
Yeah.
Now
I don't want to call Griffin Stim fanboys, so I'll let you guys talk for yourself. How would you classify yourself when it comes to Origin? Lovers, haters, fanboys? What's the title that you like to use?
Well, Stim, you can go first.
I was going to say the same. So myself and Jordan specifically, but most of the hosts on the Yacht Club, we come from the 890 Jump Club originally. That's how the Yacht Club was born, and so we are often seen, just like you Execute, although the exact opposite, as people that are fanboys for Origin. And for me, in a way, it's true. But I'll kind of even the keel by saying I appreciate all the ships. The ones I'm going to spend more time in is going to be the Origin ships. But I appreciate all of them, and there's balance within Star Citizen, and it's a really important balance. So as we go through here and we talk about the different ships, one of the things that I'll be talking about is, what are those pros and cons, and how is it that I'm more aligned on the Origin side than I am on the Drake side?
I agree with you.
Still love Drake.
I agree with you 100%. That's exactly how I am. I think they all have their place. So yeah, Griff, what about you, mate? What's your? Well,
if I had to determine if I'm a fanboy, I'm going to show you a few items here. This will be one of the items here. If you can see what that is, and if you can see what this is here, right. Okay, and if you can see even what this is here.
Man, he's come with props, Algred. He's got us under the table.
I told you I was going to have fun with this.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's what you should do.
Here's my thing. I'm like many of us, I've played a variety of games over the years. And one of the games that I had a lot of interest in was EVE Online. But when I got into EVE, it was because of some of the things that they said you could do. There were a variety of careers that were listed, but once I got into EVE, the main thing I found myself doing more than anything was combat. No matter what it was I wanted to do, if it was trading, I had to do combat. If I was doing mining, I had to do combat. If I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I had to do combat. Yeah. And I got tired of that, to be honest with you. And when I came to Star Citizen, I saw a career mentioned that I'd never seen in any other game called luxury and touring. And I wondered what that was. I'll probably be a little bit more harsher when it comes to my feelings about the career. And I know Execute, I understand from a function, you come much more from a functionality standpoint. And I know you're also giving some room to the fact that we know for all ships in the game, we haven't seen any game at its full potential, any ship at its full potential based on careers. But I will say this, and I hope this doesn't sound like an excuse, but I see the people who are into the idea of touring and luxury as being those who are much more role play oriented or social dynamic oriented.
I'd agree.
Me taking a touring ship out, the pleasure for having it is not the fact that I've spent the money on it. It will be the pleasure that my friends come on it and that they enjoy themselves. It is not me piloting the 890 jump. It's my friend who says, "Hey, Griff, can I take the wheel and do it?" It'll be when I go down into the dining room area and there are people role playing and having a good time down there, or people running around in the swimming pool. That is actually the part of this that I will enjoy the most as an owner of a luxury ship. I know when it comes to transport and touring, I am interested in things like the new E1 that came out. Interested in things like the 400i, which, a lot of people, if there's one ship that a lot of people do seem to like out of the Origin series, it is the 400i. They find greater functionality in that particular ship. But this aspect of luxury, it's difficult to try to put some rationale behind that, because in the real world, most things that are luxurious, us regular people think is ridiculous. If it's your 150-foot yacht and it costs you $75 million, most of us say, I know what I could do with $75 million, and it's not going to be buying a yacht, So from that aspect of it, in some ways, I actually take that attitude toward it. When it comes to these ships, we talk about the luxury tax, just like we talk about the alien tax, right? That you pay more money. I'm willing to pay more money because it has value. If that 600i costs as much as a Caterpillar or equal to, its value is not the same to me. It's cool. It would be great to say that it's the same price, but the fact that it actually costs an extra $75 more, even though some people may say that I can find greater functionality and modularity in the Caterpillar, but I can't find it in the 600. But for a 600 owner, that is what we want. It is worth every dime of that amount of money. So that's kind of how I look at the luxury touring piece.
All right. Well, that was the summary of this episode. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. He just went through everything. Like, that was everything we were talking about in a nutshell. You just done it in one thing.
Goodbye. See you later.
Yeah. See you later. But no, seriously. So what he's just said there, we're going to go through all of that. I was like, yeah, we're going to lock down back here. He's the whole thing. It's all done. We've done everything. But
Shortest episode we've ever done. Awesome. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. But so I don't know where to start with that. So I think where would you guys like to start? Because I actually think like I said before the show, I think you'll be surprised how quickly find common ground. And I'm already seeing common ground already, because in the real weird turn of fates, people think I hate Origin, but it's actually I want it to do more. I want more for Origin. I'm kind of like trying to push it up and say, hey, come on, what's going on here? You're trying to sell this luxury thing, and I don't feel luxury. And I think you kind of hit on it there, Griff, when you said the 400i. I think that was the real turning point for me. I went, right, they're getting it now. They're getting it. They understand what that luxury was. And you talked about the cost of luxury. I think it's a bit style as well. I don't know how else to put that, because obviously it's in a video game. It's not like the real world, as you said, but there's just a certain style about that 400i that really punches above the 600i and the 890 and a few of the others. And I think maybe the 100i has a little bit of that, but...
Can I throw something at you? Go ahead, Albert. Go ahead. I
was going to say, but the issue, you mentioned the 600i and being $75 more than a Caterpillar. And when it came out, the exterior looks great, but the interior was what really turned lots of people against it. It just didn't, it was too much wasted space. And I think that what they showed of a rework showed how much wasted space was in there. It was almost as if they'd cobbled together what they thought luxury was, but they didn't really, it was really just not doing it.
I'm going to bring you back because you're going a little bit off topic, because we're talking about the styling, right? So I want to...
And styling, but the styling in that 600i just wasn't there. It didn't have... It was more trashy, shared accommodation rather than individual things.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that also caused lots of wasted space and everything in there. And
I'll throw this in. And people on my show have heard me say this before. Every ship I've bought, I've bought them based upon the Q&A, the specs, all the information we had. I was in Austin at the VerseCon in 2017 when this came out. This is the only ship I bought on site that day. And if you remember, on the 600 commercial,
every other day though, he bought another Origin ship.
No. But I'm saying, but remember, on every other thing, they didn't show the interior of this ship. All they showed
Yeah.
was the exterior.
Yeah, and the exterior.
To your
rocks.
point, Execute, the styling of the ship is what got me. And I actually said to myself, I don't care what it looks like on the inside. I love that design. The commercial was impressive too.
Yeah.
But this is the only ship that I've ever done that with. Any other ship was a matter of time, waiting, let's see what it looks like, blah, 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 blah. And so there are some purchases, and I'm sure there are other people who purchase they may buy their Super Hornet just because they see it. They don't know what it does yet, but oh my God, it looks great for me. And I guess in some ways for me, luxury feels that way as well. I do. Stim knows this. I'm so dumb. I have a second account. That is what I call my luxury account. And all that's in it is luxury ships. That's it. My main account funds that account because, as you know, luxury doesn't pay for itself. Usually money comes from someplace else. If you've got that 150-foot yacht, you ain't making money off of it because you're chartering it. You're making money because your business is paying for it and you're funneling money to take care of it. So anyway, that's it.
Or it's a cost center that allows you to claim back charity benefits.
Yeah, it's a write-off, right? It's a write-off.
Yeah, right. So just diving into that style for a second here, the 400i, both Execute and Griffin, you've mentioned that was kind of the one that really jumped out at you as far as Origin style is concerned. And a lot of people are really polarized on the 400i. So you've got people that call it the toothbrush, that really don't like it. They're frustrated that only an Origin X series ship bike fits inside the front. They're extremely frustrated by that ship. And then other people just fell in love with it. And I'm thinking from a style perspective, to me, it's the one that has the most Star Wars-esque ethic to it, the way that it's designed. So it in a way, it looks like the ship, the Nabooian ship.
Oh, that skin.
Constellation class or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the Naboo, the real big fighter that Amidala flew in the first movie.
Yeah, the silverish kind of one. So to me, that one has really sort of Star Wars-esque origins. And the other line that people tend to really like if they're Origin fans are the Crusader series. Because of those Star Wars themes in the round ports between rooms and stuff like that. So is there for you guys, is there any attachment to other franchises? Maybe could be on more on the subliminal side, or is there something that kind of grabs you there, or does that help you to articulate what it is about the style?
I think for me,
grabs you.
I think for me, it's more like you know how like where you get a building or whatever, and they do like really extravagant out there architecture. Another example might be the Cybertruck, where they try to go really a little bit off the cuff, a little like try and break the mold. And I think that's kind of what they hit with that 400i. Like it was just not like any other ship they'd done, and it was bold. That's the word I would use, is bold. Right. And another way, like to put it in an Australian turn of phrase, is kind of like the Sydney Opera House. It was bold. It was different. Right. And a lot of that luxury stuff is like that. Like if you look at the yachts, they try to be different and bold, and they might make it a catamaran or something like that. And the 400i, it hit that sweet spot. It really, really did. And I think now going back and doing the 600i, they've just made everything bold. Like you look at as I said to Paul when we talked about it, he I've been in his little Astropub 600i, and it's this tiny little island bench of a bar, and you've seen the new pictures. It's the full room. It's the full Monty. Like it goes from one side to the other. It is like the grand piano that takes up the whole room, and that is luxury to me, right?
Go ahead. All right.
For me, one of the original things that hooked me into Origin was the 300. And it was those gull wings on the 300. It made it, to me, Grim DeLorean. And I love that. And I lament that it's not in the 300, and yet I also am glad it's not in the 300, because those gull wing doors are so much wasted space. And the 300 interior now is awesome. It looks great. Beautiful. But I do miss those gull wing doors. It really did give it that styling of rarity and luxury, and for me that's what really made it stand out.
I was going to say, to your point earlier, execute. Luxury, as I said earlier, is something that we'd never seen before in a game or touring at this level, at least in the way that they're doing it.
Mm.
And I think that CIG made it clear that there were some test beds there, right? The Phoenix, if you remember how it looked in its original state, super gaudy, chrome glass, all over the place, jacuzzi in the middle of the room with a bed. It was terrible, the layout. Now, mind you, we thought it was cool. We thought it was cool back then. We thought it was the coolest thing.
You'd seen nothing like
then,
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Then we get the Phoenix, right? So, I'm sorry, we get the 600.
Mm.
The 600 comes out, and they're going down a cleaner line look, but its layout isn't great. Its functionality isn't great.
Mm.
So then they move from that, and they said we learned some things from the 600, and then they put out the was it the 890 or the Phoenix first? Which one came out first? I forget which one it was now on the timeline. It was the 890, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then they did the 890, which you could see that they did learn some things from doing the 600, and then they step it up again and go to the Phoenix. The Phoenix is great, but its layout is horrible as far as I'm concerned in the Phoenix. It's way off. But they were refining it. Notice things were getting tighter, and then by the time you get to the 400, things have gotten tighter, but there's still a feeling of space. And I think that, when I hear people say they feel like there's a waste of space, I always wonder, what did that mean? And what else would they like to see in the ships because I saw functionality issues. Like, I hated the fact that in the exploration version of the 600, the scanning section was in the back, but yet still your control room's in the front. I was more dealing with how they laid things out more than the fact that there was this space or that the globe was in the middle, but you're trying to pilot the ship. I mean, there were weird things like that threw me off. So I will agree with you that as they're trying to tool luxury and touring, they're trying to get it together. They're learning, and hopefully they're getting better at how they lay out. Because as you mentioned, the 400i is laid out in a much more practical way.
Yeah,
functionality-wise.
I think that's the key. I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm trying to go, how do I put it into words? And it's like, like I look at a yacht, like a real yacht, right? A yacht is still a yacht, though, at the end of the day, and it has to make compromises on space. It's like like a mobile phone, not a mobile phone, a mobile home, how everything is packed in. You have the fold-away tables and all that stuff. Now, I'm not saying they have to have fold-away tables or all that, but the thing is, there was just too much space in the 600i, and there was almost too much space in the 890 jump. The 890 jump is more like a cruise ship, and I think that's how, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think but still, being a cruise ship, like, you go in and they'll have the mini fridge instead of a full-size fridge and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So they have to make those kind of compromises to make it feel a bit more real. There's just this disconnect to, there's just so much space, it's like being at home, and that just seems really weird, because, like, they never do that. It's like, the way I'd kind of phrase it is like, how you go on an aircraft and everything's just lighter because it has to be, it's a little bit like that, where there was just absolutely no compromises made at all. None. And there was just some kind of realism hit there. The 400i, on the other hand, it felt like there was a slight narrowing of the space, but it was used better. It was cleaner. The areas were still open but narrow, and I can't even put that into words. Like, you get what I mean? I know you get what I mean, though, because you said the same thing. But just a real quick yes or no from Stim and Algro, do you kind of get what we're saying there, or we're coming off like buffoons?
There's when you look at a really well-designed yacht, there's an efficiency, an elegant efficiency in the way the space is used and the design of how it works. And the 400 brought that out.
Yeah, that's what you get with the 400. Whereas the original Phoenix, you had the shower that was in the hallway that led to the engineering section. You had it was just weird things. It just we can see where you're going, but
I'll put this question back to you guys now. If they were to start rebuilding the Phoenix tomorrow, I think we'd all agree it will have a lot better outcome. Yeah, now they're starting to learn. Every step is getting better and better, and I think they do clearly need to go back now and do the Phoenix and the 890. From the concepts of the 600i, I was like, yeah, okay, they've got it now. They know what's going on. Yeah.
But if you looked at the Phoenix midsection, in terms of what they've gone for now, that makes a lot more sense than what they had originally. Yeah, okay, we still say, hey, there's no bathroom for the guests to use. They've got to go into the crew quarters and use that little pokey little portal loop. we say there's not really an elegant way for them to enter that area. You've either got to go up through the cargo lift, or you've got to go up through the crew lift and then walk through the dirty midsection. And so there are some things we'd like to see change, but generally, that midsection is pretty good.
The seating area is
pretty
excellent.
good. It's great.
Yeah,
but
that
little
seating
things
area is
want to
excellent.
touch. Yeah.
You know what I don't quite understand?
Use of the space. Sorry, just the use of the space where the hot tub is just so poorly done. You've taken the space that is really compartmentalized on a grid, and now you've got this diagonal line that sort of cuts things out and just kind of wastes that space. And then the bar is actually not bad the way that the bar is set up. I quite like the way the bar is in the Phoenix. But then you've got this open space that is either an executive meeting table or a piano. And it's too much space in there. And maybe they were worried about traversal at the time, but I think they've probably figured that out a little bit better now. They can make better use of that space.
I've got a worry, but I've also got a positive. So I'm actually going to say the MSR, right? The MSR was originally about, the same width as the Connie and about 2/3 the width. And now, Agrid pointed out to me, it is way bigger than the Connie. So I think that's really evident that the Connie is eventually going to grow. Then my second concern is they now have a stage that is modeled after the Phoenix, and I don't think it'll be accurate if they redo it, or I don't think it should be accurate if they redo it. I think it's going to change. But, I hope they don't let the state. I don't think they will, but do you get what I mean? Like, I think if the ship's going to grow, that would allow more room for that ship to be the ship it needs to be. And all the little things, like there needs to be a private entrance into that ship. Like, you shouldn't be sharing the same area as the crew, for that luxury area, it should be separate. And I think it's not just that area that needs to improve. I almost think that the other way you could do it is don't make the front of the ship the same grade as the other Connies. I think it needs to be upgraded from bow to stern, so the whole ship comes up, not just this midsection.
And that was one of the things that the old Phoenix at least had going for it. That styling, as gaudy as it was through the whole thing. You had had the Cubist artworks in the crew quarters section. You had that whole theme going through the whole ship, and it looked cleaner. You didn't have the tables on the floor. And I'm pretty certain if you go to a luxury ship, the crew quarters, certainly a luxury yacht, the crew quarters are significantly cleaner looking or more maintained than in, say, an ocean liner, because passengers are more likely going to pass through those areas. But there's still going to be, there's something that just felt wrong with that rework.
So I've got a question now. And this question, I won't alleviate to why. I might tell you guys after the show, but this is for my algorithms and my benefit. Do you see touring as separate from exploration?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Griffin. Do you want to explain it, or?
You just explain as you see it, Griff.
Yeah, I mean, exploration is, well, you're exploring. You're going into areas and looking for some things that maybe have never been seen before, for whatever those reasons may be, science, curiosity, whatever the case may be. Touring is just that. It's literally going someplace that has been scoped out. You're familiar with it. You know what's there. So for me to go on for touring, there's a great video that's been put out by oh God, what's the guy's name? I'll think of it in a minute now. Ray's Guide. He actually did a piece called Luxury. And he talked about how could luxury fit into the game. And he gives some really good examples. One of them he actually tied in, which I'd never thought of. He thought of, what if we tied luxury in with reputation? And that there are things that happen within the universe that if you were to, for example, there happens to be he just uses as a crude example, but if there's a fashion event or a special event happening on Terra, if you make your way there and you're there for that event, then you gain a form of reputation. I know that back in the day, CIG had talked about the fact that there would be certain locations that you could go to only if you owned a certain type of ship and have access to.
Yep.
But touring, for me, extends to the point where, as I mentioned earlier, when I've got some friends who want to get together and we want to go do something, and maybe, you guys have found something in some part of space or some system that we don't know about, but it's been charted, it's been mapped out, and we have a pilot and we have some people that want to go there. We're going there in our leisurely fashion to go check out whatever it is. Maybe it's to go to Terra because someone wants to buy their whatever ship because the ship manufacturer is there. And while we're there, we're hanging out for a while. We did it with my group called Snobs last year. During Invictus, we all met up. We all loaded ourselves into a Phoenix or something like that, and we all donned our hats and monocles and put on all white, and we arrived together at Origin, and we got out and walked as a group, and we had a blast, and we took photos and had a great time. That would be an example of touring for me,
Yeah. So it's more social
Great.
and
Exactly.
I almost, not to be too crude with it, but touring is like a tourist. You go somewhere and see the sights and stuff like that. That's how I see touring.
Yeah.
But,
So Stim,
Stim, your
I
thoughts?
totally agree. So I made a list of, to me, what luxury meant and what Origin ships meant for me. And there's one that we haven't spoken about
Sure.
that I want to get into later. But we've spoken about the social side, and with that social side, there's status as well. And that status has two factors as far as I see it. One is access, and the other one is reputation. Right? Reputation granting you access, but reputation is also that function of social and what it is you want to do in the verse. Right. So it's both access as well as social. So it's status. Then you've got that style that we spoke about. And there's a couple of real tangential ones, like it's roomier, so there's ease of traversal. You've got those design cues, you've got the aesthetic that we spoke about, things are nicer to look at. You've got less struts, which is fantastic.
There's something that comes to my mind, and it makes it sound really exclusive, but it's not that weird when you think about it, because like if you went the other way and said mining, you can't take a VIP vessel and do mining. It's literally the vehicle for the job, right? So
I don't think Origin will ever do mining.
But it's what I'm saying is it's a mental thing. Do you know what I mean? Like because you make it sound very exclusive, but like you must have this ship to be able to do this, right? But it's the same as any other ship in the game. Like they're built to do certain tasks, so it's not. It's just a mental block. You've got to realize it's a gameplay thing. So it makes sense.
Stim, are you saying that I can't do mining in an 890 jump? How dare you? How dare you?
A hand tool.
Have you? Do you remember reading me and Algrid reading this really old comment from like, it must have been like 9 or 8 years ago. This guy was going, "Oh, I can't wait to go mining in my Hornet," and it's just like,
oh my god, wow.
How much things have changed, Like,
but back in the day, that was a possibility because hard points you could have put a mining tool on. It was that type of thing, and then they pulled it back and said, well, you've got to have the right piping. It's got to go to a storage place. You might be able to do it, but not going to have a storage place. You're going to have to pick it up by hand. And now it's gone. Well, no, the mining tools are utility mounts and other things. So I'm glad they've made that change, but yeah.
So a follow-up question: besides the one that's actually labeled as an Explorer, which is the 600i? What other ships do you think the other Origin ships are like? Does touring limit its exploration capability?
Can I weigh in on that for 1 second?
Oh, what Algrid said or what I said?
No, but what you're saying. You're saying. So you had let off earlier saying, do you see exploration and touring as being separate? And I think what you're looking for at this point is just a little bit more sort of clarification on that. And I think that as a touring person, I can see some of the missions, because missions are good examples of what some of the gameplay loops will be. And a mission could be go and collect data. I mean, I remember from Star Trek, they would have people that are on their vessel and they happen to be at the same time gathering data from some anomaly that only happens every 35
Yep.
years or something,
And
right? So
and they had
I-
a whole bunch of. I remember an episode of Enterprise, and they had a whole bunch of dignitaries to go see this. It was a spring or something in space, and it bloom.
Yeah.
It was the bloom of Agathoria, I think that was what it was called. I can't believe I remembered that. But yeah, the bloom of Agathoria is what it was called. And
now the silly part is something really important in your life it wasn't remembered because
Yeah,
that piece
exactly.
of information occupied those neurons.
To even look at the touring aspect in another way, there is in lore a hammerhead that is a luxury touring vessel. They bought the hammerhead, they took out all the turrets, they replaced them with glass domes, because it's got a reinforced hull, and they would take it in to watch, into the coronas of suns type areas really close, and you'd watch those really cool areas, and that is touring in as well. So
those missions that you were talking about, Stim, do you see them almost akin to? So you might go, all right, the mission is to take a bunch of people to somewhere and look at this. So it's almost like it's a similar mission to the Genesis, but the Genesis seems to be more A to B, where this seems to be to specific places, like go out and see the sites. Is that kind of how you see it?
So touring in games that we've had before are things like go to this location, take a picture of something, and then come back, and then somehow it recognizes that picture is the value and you get a credit for that mission. In this case, it would be, you're going to a specific destination. So to show someone something. Okay. Now, how fine is the line, or how gray is the line between, well, it's here to go get it, or you actually need to scan it down, and it's going to be somewhere over here, and you've got to go find it. You've got to use science-y exploration methods in order to locate what it is. So I suppose you could call it tourist bounty hunting on anomalies. It's how do you want to define it, right? So
what we're kind of getting at between the difference between touring and exploring is we've always thought, well, why, if they weren't different, why would they call them different things? Like at the end of the day, and we've had people
what's
debate
interdiction other than combat. Because an interceptor. Sorry, what's interceptor versus just straight combat?
Yeah.
Well, the difference is an interceptor is faster to try and catch something, and that's really it's a nuance. It's an important nuance, but it's a nuance, right?
So we've had people argue with us that touring and exploring are the same thing, and we've never believed that. And that was why I got you guys to do it, because certain people have said these guys will tell you that it's the same, and you've literally told us that it's what we thought it was, and that they are different. So I'm just glad you were able to we're on the same page.
I can see how they're very, very closely related. So,
there's an overlap.
I understand where they're coming from. 100%.
Yeah, there's 100% overlap. But just like there's overlap with touring and the stuff the Genesis does, they're all 6 degrees of separation. You can almost see it like a giant circle, and they're all slightly overlaying each other as they go round.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Algrid, you had mentioned about the hammerhead. That you remember also in the lore, there was the same thing done with a Crusader Genesis that was turned into a party vessel. There's different dynamics of the social, and I think the social dynamic, like Stim said earlier, is a huge. At $8.90 by yourself is a waste of time and waste of money. You can walk around on it if you want to, but the reality of it is, it's not until you can get on that ship and you have people on that ship, whether even the 600, I don't care which one of the ships you pick. For me, the real aspect of those ships, otherwise they just sit in the hangar like any other yacht, right? That's all they do. They sit in the yacht in the harbor until you get people on them, and that's when they come alive. Otherwise they're just an expensive, overly priced piece of metal sitting somewhere. So that's what brings the value to it again for me. The exploration side of these ships, for me, I think that many people who enjoy touring also have that edge of wanting to explore. as well. And so I think that that's where the merging can take place at. If you take a 600 out, I can take my friends out, and there's the luxury version, but then there's that other one that I might decide to take it out. The 600i is a tough ship, size 5s on it. It can go out and take care of itself. The 890 can take care of itself when it's out there. A lot of people think, just because they're luxury ships that they'll be just blown up in no time flat. That is not a reality. I've known people to take a 600 out and do the frickin' Xeno threat with the thing and not have a problem. So, I think that those of us who are into touring, because I do want to do exploration. That's my other thing I want to do. And so for me to translate that into the same ship and not necessarily say, I've got to go get into an Aquila now, I can actually still have that feeling of niceties around me, and at the same time have the tools I need to do exploration at the same time is nice. That's a nice perk for me.
Did you know there's another ship like the Hammerhead and the Genesis Starline that has been converted like that? There's a Redeemer. It's called the Astropub. It's his favorite ship. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna make it happen. We'll just keep talking about it until it happens.
But he does have that now.
Yeah, but before. Well, I do want you hit on a really important point that I do want to talk about, and that is, what do you think generally? So like, let's just give you the example of Drake, right? So we all know Drake is upgunned and under armored. I see Origin as almost like overprotective. They're more defensive. They're like the mobile safe room. Is that how you guys see them?
Can I jump on that one?
Yeah, please.
Sure.
Please.
Okay, so the thing I wanted to get into, because we've spoken about style, luxury, status, reputation, and access. We've talked about the social side. It then starts to get into the security side. Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about VIP transport, think about bulletproof cavalcades, getting a VIP, a president, from one location to another, a high value executive, someone that So there's that security side. And I see that being very important if you have VIP. And so they become very tanky, more on the shield side than the armor side. On the shield side, they're definitely really beefed up. On the armor side, they're strongly represented on the armor, but I wouldn't say over or average. And then from the security side, and before I pass it on, you also have a component of reliability. And this one's up for debate. It's true. It's definitely up for debate because how do components work, all of that.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think, let me put it this way, and I would have talked this about, so I'll make it real quick. But like Drake, really cheap to repair, but it'll break down more often. Origin almost hardly ever repair, but costs you a goddamn fortune, just like in real life with BMW. If you know how BMW works, they hardly ever break down, but when they do, cost you a fortune.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in prison.
Oh no! That's on your feed. Refresh your browser.
The browser, it's the camera dying.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I just lost mine. It looks like Agwood's just about to lose his. So
yeah. Can see you, no problem.
Refresh.
Yeah, he'll just turn it off and reset it. Give it a minute.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stim, regarding these ships. In fact, when you read on the 890, you read about the fact that it has defensive capabilities, and what you were saying, execute. I have a protocol whenever I fly somewhere with a ship, any of the luxury ships. As soon as I come out of Quantum, wherever I'm at, I lock onto someplace. There's someplace immediately I lock onto, especially with the 890. That's because as soon as I realize there's a threat, I'm not trying to stick around and fight. I'm leaving. That's it. I don't care if I'm going to an orbital station, whatever. As soon as I get there, I find something, lock onto it, and it's just in my computer just in case. And if I happen to be cruising into the orbital, but somebody locks onto me, within seconds, I can point to whatever it is, and I'm ready to jump. I'm already queued up. I'm already spooled up. I just have to wait on that one last calibration to happen, and I'm out of there. So I think there are precautions when you take these types of ships out. I'm actually hoping that over time, and I know this is a real pipe dream, but I'm hoping over time that the whole aspect of shooting at ships becomes much more thoughtful. for lack of a better term. In other words, if someone's attacking me, they're doing it because they have a purpose. Maybe they want to pirate me. Or they know that there's a dignity. They've scanned me, and maybe I'm carrying something. I don't want them to shoot me just because I'm a target. And that's for every ship. I don't care what ship it is. Now, that's going to take a certain level of maturity in the game. But I also believe that if we put enough stuff out there for gamers to be interested in, we won't drop down to just shooting something because it's moving, but we're actually being much more thoughtful. And I think the value expense also is another factor, because, not to be funny, people were complaining about the 890. Remember Stim? People were complaining about the fuel consumption on it when you were leaving orbit. You could maybe go up maybe 2 or 3 times in orbit of a planet. After that, you were out of gas. Guess what? Yachts are gas guzzlers. There is no fuel efficiency in any yachts. And so I think CIG needs to tweak it. Don't get me wrong. It's not where it needs to be. But my attitude is, if you're hollering about gas, you don't need to own a ship. That's
She's
my
a big
attitude.
ship too, isn't she? So I put it up there with the Reclaimer, and that Reclaimer takes a long time to get out of atmosphere because of its size, and it's the same thing. It's what I said, comes a little bit back to what I was saying before about how there needs to be a believability about it, because it is a yacht at the end of the day. It is a spaceship that they have.
Well, you said it. The components should be expensive. You said that earlier. They shouldn't be cheap. I mean, that's a part of what, like Stim was saying, what you're paying for is that quality, and you're not going to take, like you said, a Ford engine and put it inside of that unit. It's not going to happen.
It was perfect timing. Whoever's ringtone that was quality.
It's mine. Sorry.
Quality. No, it just went off like quality. Like a car salesman from the 50s. No, it was perfect.
I'm sorry, it silenced my phone. Sorry.
But I think that's right. You do want, I get the impression that one of the things that makes Origin stand out is the components are higher quality, or they've got better durability, and that's one of the key things. I also remember with the 890 jump, one of the things when they were selling it is that it was the automation on Origin ships is supposedly significantly better than others. So that a large ship like the 890 uses significantly less crew, or needs significantly less crew than another ship its size.
So less maintenance and stuff. All right, so one thing I want to get into, because look, this is from my perspective, but I'm going to be honest with you, where we're at already, you've already had some impact on my thinking, right? But what I want to ask is, I've always thought Origin is a bit weak on gameplay. So what other gameplay do you think they could add to Origin besides? Because the thing that has changed in my head is touring really does seem to be the one trick pony that Origin has, but it's kind of really exclusive to Origin. And so I still think it's stronger than it was when I started the show, I'll put you that way, but I still think it's not enough. I don't think you can build an entire manufacturer on one niche gameplay. It needs a little bit of variety, because again, you're paying more for these ships, but you're only getting one exclusive thing. Like, why can't it do that as an exclusive and then a little bit of general? And I know a lot of people are gonna say, oh yeah, it's got cargo and stuff like that, but there's just like Algrid will tell you, we've often said, why isn't there a science one or a medical one? Because that does fall under that luxury purview. And one that came to me more recently is, I really think they may eventually do an Origin shop ship akin to the Privateer and the Banded Merchantman, because I can see that as a thing, like like you were talking about fashion before, going to different events, Griffin, and stuff like that. An actual, like, you walk in and you take it to the old rich hag and you land. She walks in and she goes, don't like that, don't like that, but you get where I'm going. Like, you can see the different people you would visit, and you can tailor what's in it. Even that, if you guys been watching Andor? His relic shop.
Yes.
High-end clientele, just like that. So you can fit it exactly how you want, customize it all out, and change it from place to place that you go, and it's tailored for the person you're taking it to. Okay, so you can get where I'm coming from. So what I'm asking you is, I've given you a couple of examples. Do you agree with those? Is there any that you can think of that would be different? Yeah, you put your hand up like you're 5 years old, Sam, but you're learning how it works here. Good to see, Steve.
I'm so excited about this. So yes, I agree. In fact, I was struggling to think of alternative cases, because I want to make sure that the ships kind of stay in their lanes to some degree. So if you were to look at a matrix of the different manufacturers, on the y-axis, and on the x-axis you look at the different game loops and gameplay styles that are there. Origin has touring, VIP transport, exploration, racing, as its real kind of standouts.
But its real standard is that luxury thing, and I almost think it's like the icing on the cake of all the other ships. Like it is across the top of everything. That's how I see it. Like the Drake is kind of across the bottom, but then with a little bit of salvage up the side. Like I know, that's a weird way to look at it, but that's how I see it.
But if you look at if you look at Drake has piracy as its top one. Yeah. Right, and Origin will never touch piracy. Like I just don't see it happening.
You're gonna swallow those words. You're gonna swallow those words.
You're gonna trigger me. You're gonna trigger me. You're gonna trigger me.
100%. There's gonna be a pirate like 890 jump. Someone's gonna do it. I can tell you now.
So let's take a look at the Phoenix very quickly. Okay, the Phoenix has a smuggling capability, right?
Yeah.
Which because of the way it ended up being implemented, it's actually like the most capable smuggler in the entire fleet of ships. But it wasn't supposed to be that way. You look at Crusader. Crusader is, you were saying that luxury transport execute is really significant only to Origin. Well, look at the most recent E1 ship that we got from Crusader. That is luxury transport.
I will argue it's second class. So if the Genesis Starliner is economy, the E1 is business class, and the 600i and all that is first class. Okay. Because it's executive. There's a reason why it's called the E1, because it's executive, and executive translates to business. Which is business class.
But you can see how if you look at that matrix that we have, you've got this crossover of the various manufacturers. So Anvil and RSI cross over a lot. RSI crosses over a little bit with Drake. You've got these different crossovers in the different ships as well. So for me, when you're looking at the original question of what are the other gameplay styles, I want to make sure that Origin kind of sticks within its lane.
You better hope John Crew's not watching this, because he's going, challenge accepted.
I have. If you're talking the manufacturer, I don't even think Drake necessarily goes out and says we are building a pirate ship. Like if you look at their lore, they moved to Magnus, which was because it was cheap, but they have saved the Magnus system by being there and being in industry after the UE left.
Okay.
They build cheap, easy to repair, maintain ships. So yes, people who are on the outskirts or ne'er-do-wells will choose them because I don't have to be going to the centres of commerce to get my ships. Yes, Drake may purchase the salvage from people because they have salvage yards. But pirates are going to use whatever ships are available. Pirates aren't a business or a company. They'll use an 890 jump if they get one. They'll use a 600i if they get one. They'll use a 325A. They'll use it, But
gangs do run in Escalades, and Escalade is a really, 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 really nice vehicle. So
they'll use whatever they take too. So if they take an 890 jumper or a 600i, they'll just use it.
Just look at Blackbeard, Queen Anne's Revenge. It's a pirate ship, but it was a Royal Navy ship.
But Origin isn't making a pirate ship. It happens.
And neither's Drake. Drake is not making a pirate ship. Anyone who says
that's his whole point.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think the laws just pulled them into that pirate place. And yes, from a gameplay, yes, they are the pirate manufacturer. But I think we can clearly say law-wise, the company themselves is trying to break a bit of that shackle and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why CIG have worked at changing that. Bringing Arden in. They're trying to say no, we don't have companies that are making pirate stuff. Hell, if you're going a pirate company, Personal Dynamics are probably the nastiest of them because they have these almost indentured workers who are virtual slaves.
I can almost imagine the law guys in a way going, all right, so we're going to have it like the pirates took over an 890 jump and they renamed the 890 jump to the Black Pearl or whatever, and then they used it to infiltrate some. Do you know what I mean? So Origin pirate ship was found doing this, just to get Origin headlines, like Origin used in piracy. I could see that as a thing that the lore guides would do.
But I think the key difference is with those luxury ships, because they're harder to maintain and harder to get parts for. Pirates may use them, but when they break down, they're going to revert back to their.
All right, Stim wants to speak. Stim wants to speak.
You've convinced me. You've convinced me that from the pirate standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. If we take, getting back to where I was trying to get to there, let's say salvage. Okay, I don't think mining and salvage. I don't think Origin are going to go down the mining and salvage route. They're dirty businesses. That's not what Origin is about. At the same time, when I saw the Drake Corsair come out with exploration, I was a little bit surprised, but also really intrigued that they were getting an exploration. But I don't see Drake ever doing a VIP tour. So it's
True.
This is what I mean by Origin sticking to its lanes. Yes, there's got to be some latitude. The alternative, if every ship can do everything, which CIG will never do, we don't want every manufacturer to have a ship in every category either.
That's true.
It takes away from the brand of that manufacturer.
Yeah, I was going to say
real quick, like a little bit of overlap though. There does need to be that overlap. So sorry, Griff.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Now I'm curious to see this piracy with an 890 only because
you want to wear the pirate hat and eye patch. I know you too well.
No, it's the fact that the ship. I mean, for piracy, there has to be a feeling of overtaking and overpowering whoever you're going after. In the 890, that's where it lacks. We talked about it's based around defense more than offense. And so there would have to be other ships there. Now, maybe whoever's running it will roll up in the 890, but whether the 890 itself would be the ship, I'm really reluctant to believe that.
So let me give you a little example. Have you seen any of the? Do you remember the shipjacker ships they showed off in the trailer where they were merged ships together? So they had like a Mustang and Aurora batched together. Yeah, and they had like an Aurora with a big gun on it. So imagine you took guns off another ship and just slapped them on the side of the 890 jump. Like a pirate junker, right? And it was like that. Now I would be scared of it, right?
It's not just the guns; it's maneuverability. There's a whole lot of factors. Now, you might as well say take a Kraken and go be a pirate.
Yeah. So they take the engines off the Kraken and they smack them on the side of the Origin. They put a massive gun on the deck. Like it would look sick as hell. Like it would be armed to the teeth.
It would look good. I'll give you that. It would look good. But let me throw this at you because you asked about what were some things we could do.
Sorry,
I think Stim hit on a couple of them. That's okay. No,
we're just getting excited.
Transport.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. VIP transport, obviously, we mentioned that. Diplomatic and dignitary uses, which would be another one that we would do for organizations. Group transport for like the 600, where you have a group of people that are traveling together and want to get somewhere, especially because when ships are not, getting access to ships later in the game, your ships are going to be spread out all over the place. So maybe a group of people want to go together. We mentioned touring. There's actually vacationing. There will be people who literally want to go somewhere and hang out and be there for a week and check out what's going on. Entertainment, such as any type of, we saw from the 890 commercial where people got together and partied. Gambling possibility. We won't talk about that one too much, but there are vending machines and things like that in the game. And then there's just straight pleasure. Just the fact of being able to go out and enjoy the universe. Now, those are the ones that are very practical and straightforward that can happen. I loved your idea about a conversion of a 600 to some form of luxury marketing ship. I've been wrestling with the BMM because I have friends of mine who are trying to convince me that the Banu Merchantman should be considered luxury. Well, I'm not convinced.
I meant more of it as a standalone ship, like its own.
Oh, no,
like
I get it.
Another ship. But I get what you mean, yeah.
I get it, but I'm saying there are people who've been having that conversation with me, and it's like, Griff, you need to let the BMM fall into the category of luxury. I'm like, no, it's a pretty ship. I don't know if it's a luxury ship, and I won't know until that ship comes out.
I originally did go the line of the BMM was luxury ship, but I've actually modified that view. It's a Trumpian ship. It's luxury. It's overt luxury. It's in-your-face luxury. It's showing I've got gold and other stuff, and that's a Banu thing. You show off how successful you are as a merchant by putting everything on display.
This is what I tell people.
I see it like a merchant of the Middle East back in the day. The spice traders and stuff. How they used to wear really elegant clothings, and they write on the back of it's an elegance, not a luxury. It's an elegance. I think is the word you should use.
Trump Tower type luxury, and I don't think Trump Tower and what we see in
I think that's
Trump
a bit.
is luxury.
I think that's a bit
I
demeaning.
think it's obnoxious.
Well,
And,
let me give you a different way of looking at it, Algert.
and
Algert, look at it from the lore. From the lore, Algert, it's not that the Banu have to have expensive stuff. They like shiny things. That could be freaking aluminum. We don't, I don't know what the rules are, right?
Basically, we're saying they're bowerbirds. Okay.
What about the heirloom side to it? You know, it's a generational ship. So
that's another aspect.
Although,
but again, I have people who want me to say it's luxury. I don't know.
I don't think it's as. I think the original lore was the BMM was a generational ship, and getting hold of one was really special because they were generational ships passed down through the Banu. But we've sold so many of them. I actually think the law is going to change, but it's modelled on their ship, but it's now built for the human market.
So what actually showed me that the Banu Merchantman, the Origin could have a shopping ship was the Banu Merchantman, because I keep looking for what I talk about are these overlaps, and I was like, well, what's going to be something that overlaps with merchants? And I was like, that's when I thought of the fashion stuff, and I went, wow, that goes into Origin. And believe it or not, do you know what connected the dots? It was actually your virtual bar citizen. While I was there, someone had talked to a CDOG staff member. I know who the staff member was, and I know who the person was in question, but I'm going to leave them out of it. And they said that the person had shown them really pretty female clothing, like pretty dresses and stuff. And this particular woman had broken into tears. They were that nice. And so when I heard about that, I was like, all right, so fashion's a real thing. And I noted it down in my notes, and it just came back up, and it's come up 3 or 4 times now, and I'm really sold on Origin could be that overlap, and then going the other way from Origin, I think it is medical or science. I think there's a medical or science on there. So I want to hear from Grim or Stim after you, Agrid. But yeah,
as you know, I've always thought an 890 jump should be a hospital ship, a private hospital doing those phased reconstruction type stuff. For me, that fits in with Origin perfectly. But with the 890 jump, you've always said, hey, there was early concept art that kind of seemed to have shops and malls and in there.
Actually, we should ask Griffin and Stim that why they're here, actually, because I'd like to because they've been around as long as us. They've probably got about a way in. Aaron and I did an episode where we actually firmly believe the reason the Merchantman grew and turned into a merchant ship was based on an old concept of the 890 jump, which is what Albert's talking about. And they had a shopping mall with exactly 3 shops in it, right? And then, funnily enough, the Merchantman and the 890 jump about the same size now, and one, if you cut out some of the stuff they're very similar. You can almost swap them over in certain parts, right? And so basically, I think what they've done is they've gone, well, instead of making an 890 jump shop ship, they've gone, we'll make a Banu Merchantman ship that's a shop ship. And so they've given it to the Merchantman instead of giving an 890 jump for some reason or another. I don't know why. But originally it did have modules and they cut them out, right? And I want to kind of get your 2 cents on it, because you've been around have you both been around since the conception of the 890 jump? I just want to...
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? I can look it up and pull it up on if you want me to find it. But there is an image, and it does still exist. And I don't know. I put it to Algrid, and he kind of went, oh yeah, and so we did a show on it. But
I tend to think the BMM grew so much because they promised so much. So that's.
I don't think they did, because it originally didn't have those shops, you see. It originally was if you go back and read the original concept, it was a merchant clipper ship, and they've now made the Raelian that has that old role. It is a blockade runner of the Raelian, and that's essentially what this was. And it is ballooned from the $250 ship it was to now being like an 890 jump ship. And I think the main reason for that is the name, because of the Merchantman. It just makes so much sense to make that the shop ship, because it's a merchant ship.
Yeah, it blew up. The BMM is such a hard thing to nail down, right? Because you just mentioned about the fact that originally it's been from a blockade runner to a frigate to their capital ship to a war. I mean, it has so many different titles that it's had. And as you mentioned, it was much smaller in size, hence the $250 price. But it was also pre-metriced as well. It was one of those earlier ships before metrics got laid out, and that was a huge factor. It's interesting because I think Algrid touched on this earlier about the lore of the ship. there were things on that ship I didn't think that would be on it. Like when they showed us the brig on that ship. Oh, yeah, a brig. But then I thought about like, yeah, these guys human traffic or they traffic people and stuff. So yeah, I guess they do need a brig, but we hadn't heard about a brig being on a quote unquote merchant ship, So there's a lot of stuff, as you mentioned, that have made that ship.
There's a
grow
reason
out,
why I brought up the Middle Eastern stuff, because they actually are based on Middle Eastern people, like the merchants and all that stuff. And they do it enslaving and all that as well. So when I look at the you know how you kind of
historical.
Like I think of Aladdin with all those, how they have all the curtains and stuff in the the living quarters.
They've got them on the ramp. Yeah, they're on the ramps coming down.
Well, it does, and I don't know how else to say this. I'm just going to say it. You know how it looks like a harem's room? There's a reason why it looks like a harem's room, right? Because it's based on Middle Eastern architecture and stuff like that. And every time I look at the Middle Eastern stuff, it just reflects straight back to the, everything lines up for me.
Well, when you look at some of the early concept art they did of the bazaar when it was lowered down and out the ship, it was literally a
bazaar,
Middle Eastern type bazaar type thing. So that works. But also with the BMM, you've also got the fact that being a generational ship and the Banu not having a military, they had a militia. And what happens if you've got a militia? All your families come together. Well, if you've got a generational ship where your family lives, what ship's going to turn up to be in your militia? It's going to be your BMM. So it was their military ship. It was their kind of capital ship. It was their So it was all of those things.
Right.
But I think as time's gone on, they're changing that law of trying.
I'm going to course correct here because we literally talked about the Banner Merchantman for 5 minutes. So we're going to go back to the Origin now. But Stim, take us back. I guess
say about the 890. Because one of the things in terms you were looking at in terms of where it could go is, I think, racing, because they do have, and Stim said it earlier, they do have racing. They've got, I think, 3 of the 4 or 5 races.
It's a big ship for racing, I just want to put that out there.
But you've also got a hangar, so it becomes your hang. It becomes your thing where the whole crew goes. You've got your hangar, so your vehicles can go in. You've got your garage hangar where you can put your land racing vehicles. It is a racing orgs mothership and else. So
I've got diplomacy written down for Grith and Group VIP. What other gameplays do you see, Stim, for the 890 jump?
Can I jump in real quick too, before your Stim goes, about entertainment? Something that we did practically. Stim, remember when they did the race, the Daymar Rally? They've already started where they actually hire out 890s during the race, and they RSVP people onto the 890s, and we get on them, and they have a pilot that charters it, and they invite guests on, and we actually are in orbit over the race, and we get to sit there the whole time and watch it. And they have a pilot designated. They've worked it out with CIG, there's security, there's all this stuff. So they've already started doing that form of quote unquote entertainment / touring, or like an event thing already in game. I just wanted to throw that in because I forgot all about that. They're already doing that.
The Banu Merchantmen to come along and land and drop and sell snacks.
Yeah. Sorry. So that's. No, it's perfect. Both of those comments. So from the entertainment side, straight through to the selling of snacks, that ties into sort of where I see things going. The first thing I want to do is I want to comment very quickly on the medical, the gambling, the entertainment, the shopping. I think all of those are areas certainly where they could go. One more that is kind of related to that entertainment side, and it's funny, I mentioned this at one point, and Buster the Destroyer just like lit up like a Christmas tree. She absolutely loved this idea, and that is an arena, like a grandstand ship. So just like what that 890 is, this entertainment ship, it's not the perfect ship, because you'd have to fly upside down to look out to look out the galaxy roof of it. So create a ship which has this seating, this grandstand seating, these box seats. I'm going to a game on a customer appreciation night in a couple of weeks here, and there's going to be food served. We've got awesome box seats where we can look down. There's the ability to mingle and talk and drink promotional alcohol and
that sounds like a
that
perfect
kind of
module.
Entertainment ship, right?
It sounds like the perfect module for the 890 jump. That atrium just switches out, because that's what it was. Originally, the atrium switched out and the shopping malls went in. So if you just take the atrium out and you put it in a glass bottom boat, I know that sounds really tacky, but that's literally what it would be. I could see that 100%.
And I have this vision in my mind of Sadabal being this large geodesic, is that how you say it, glass dome in space.
Geodome type,
And like two of these 890s would pull up on either side, and be able to watch the Satellite going on inside this 0G dome in space.
The ship that epitomizes the 890 jump for me in movies is the crew. I don't remember the name of it. Someone may in the comments. But the ship from Fifth Element that most of the movie is based on when they go out there. They go, we'll be going up to cruising altitude so you can see a better side of the stars or whatever. That is what I always thought the 890 jump was, and it had like an opera thing on it. And I think they've got that in the atrium. They've got the opera thing. But I think you've kind of pointed out that when it comes to other entertainment, they've only got a one-trick pony in that thing now. They've got the atrium, and that's it. There's no flexibility to go anywhere else. Like, you couldn't have a Shakespearean theatre night in that thing, as an example. I just don't think it works. Right. And one of the things Algrid alluded to earlier is I think the stairs are the biggest problem in that thing. I actually think the only fix I've seen for it is to make them animated. So they, either you turn them on
escalators.
Well, either you turn them all off on as you use them, or as you walk up, they kind of move with you, and then they fold away when they're finished. And I think that's all possible because I know how games work. It's just how far they're prepared to go to get it to work, obviously.
The only other thing, and Algrid, I know you want to jump in here. The only other thing I would say is we've seen sort of that, I guess, that opera side, but we've also seen from one of the commercials, the Gatsby commercial, that the party side of it. So we see that large celebration party. But yeah, there's not a lot that we've seen as far as what the 890 can do. From a cruise perspective,
because there's two other big areas in that ship too. You've got the kind of cargo bay area. Like, I always thought that could be modified slightly to do something, but you've also got the whole the two snub area. Like, if you could convert them, like I remember we originally had something for the Javelin, which was like a basketball court. I could see like a tennis court or something in place of where those two snubs park.
There's a basketball court in
there. Yeah, the basketball court is in there. That's the only thing, right? That's there.
Yeah, but like, can you see what I mean by making that more flexible? Is what I'm
versatile,
trying to
flexible.
Yeah, I do.
Multi-purpose or multi-use.
But in my 890, I've had 3 arrow fighters in the hangar. That's a nice little fighter wing to have with your picture.
Yeah.
But then I'll spit it back at you, Algrid. How does that relate to entertainment and the gameplay it's intended for?
No, but it's looking at the other use of a ship. But yeah, those two snubs give you that ability to take people off to get a closer look at something, or go shopping down at the the dirty 890 bounty merchantman that's on the planet.
Algrid, I'm hoping that they create a ship a better with tender than what we have. We need a tender. We need something that carries 6 to 8 people, similar to what we see happen on Oris. And I would rather have something like that, because right now there was the 85X is supposed to be what comes with it, and that's okay. But that means you're only bringing one person down.
It's a shuttle. Yep. I saw the E1 as being the shuttle to take passengers to the 890 jump.
That'd be great.
The problem with it doesn't have a docking port. No, it doesn't have a docking port.
If the E1 had fold-up wings and it could land in the 890 jump,
that's the thing.
That would do it.
Yeah. If the E1 could land in that hangar of the 890 jump, that'd kill it, because it doesn't have a docking port, so it can't pull up the side of the 890 jump and hack onto the side, and then you go in. You'd have to use the hangar.
Can I throw one more thing in about the 890 that I think some people have not thought about?
Stim's been waiting his hand up for like 2 minutes.
Stim. Go ahead, Stim.
Go, Griff. I can talk about it.
No, I'll make it quick. Yeah. Because you were talking about the 890, and that's thinking about owning that ship. Are you able to take advantage of all that the ship is supposed to do? It's great to have it because it's cool, but you said this earlier, Execute. There is a full commercial kitchen on that ship.
Yeah.
And it's there for a reason, not just decoration. So the question becomes, will CIG continue to build out things for their careers? I know some people who said, Griff, I'd be happy just to be able to come on there and cook, man. If they ever come up with a cooking skill, I'm going to be on. Hire me. I'll hire you. So I'm hoping that something like that helps build out, because otherwise just to have it there for decoration doesn't mean squat for me. I think you need to be able to utilize that ship.
Real quick before Stim talks, you've just hit on another really cool ship idea, a restaurant ship. That would work
Mighty Jump
so.
A dining ship.
No, but like
Yeah.
So
That
you
would be
take.
cool.
So essentially, what I've done with the Origin now, if you haven't pictured it, I've just taken the 890 Jump and cut it up into pieces and made it smaller Origin ship. But
All the
that would
modules.
work. Yeah, 100%.
The 890 Jump has a full restaurant as
Can you-
well as a full.
Right.
Yeah, like
bar.
it's like a flying ring,
you know.
and it goes up, and it just when it gets to a certain height, the thing just starts rotating. Like those rotating restaurants.
Take the Crucible's rotating top and
Yeah, like that. But it's like a ring that it flies up, and so you've got a cockpit on the top or whatever. But the actual restaurant is below, and it's rotating, and you can kind of look down onto a planet or whatever.
it's
Yeah,
parked above the Saddleball game.
that too. There's your ship. It's a restaurant box ship. Stim.
That's
That
funny.
works on so many levels, man. I think you.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Okay,
Wow.
Yeah, well done.
Tim,
We're
we're going to make Execute shut up. We're going to
Yeah.
make Grim shut up. I'm going to shut up. Go for it.
Thank you very much. Okay, now that I have everyone's attention, I'll waste the time and say nothing. No, so flight suits. Okay, comfort, the ability to actually pilot a ship and sit at a station in anything more than a flight suit is going away at some point.
Yeah.
Now, we might be able to have light armor. Let's not get into the debate over that. But if it gets down to the point where you have to be wearing an undersuit or a flight suit, whatever that definition is, wouldn't you rather be in a durable ship? Right? Wouldn't you rather be more comfortable and have that peace of mind that the ship is going to be able to tank a surprise attack? So as and you could say this is VIP gameplay, but if you're flying around in a Drake ship, or take the original Freelancer commercial, where he's running cargo and he's not worried because he's got these great guns on the side of the vehicle. He's not worried because he's armored and he's got those guns, right? And he's wearing his bomber jacket and just hanging out. And that's in a MISC ship. You're going to feel even better when you're in an Origin ship.
You're going to feel
And that
safer
caters
in an
to-
Origin ship. You're going to feel protected, like we kind of said before. Yeah.
And you're not going to go to an event, a Sadaball event wearing light armor. You're going to go to a Sadaball event wearing civvies.
No.
Yeah, I don't wear a flight suit in 890.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't wear one. I don't wear a
He
flight
does
suit.
nudie
in
runs
890.
in his 890 jump. Yeah, that's what he
No,
does.
I'm dressed to the nines when I'm in 890. I don't wear
I
a
do
flight suit.
prefer to have my luxury clothes on it in an 890,
Mhm.
unless I'm being told, we're doing something with the org and we're doing,
I'm going to be honest
Al,
with you.
you're in the turret.
Agra's in the hot tub with the cat girls. I'm just letting you know. That's where he is.
Now Execute. We use the cat girls for those people who like to have Evercrack and have a dealer.
So I think I do kind of understand a bit more now. I think we do kind of agree though there probably could be a little bit more gameplay for Origin, and I think we'll all kind of agree that it's probably a little bit more in the future, and I'd like to see that. What other I kind of will throw it because we're kind of coming to the end now. We're trying to start to wrap this up. But what would you kind of hope? What are your hopes and kind of dreams and thoughts for Origin? Like, is there anything else that we've kind of missed? I guess in kind of starting to wrap up. What would you like to say?
Stim.
I need to think about that one. The ship that I am most looking forward to in the game, and I know it's really out there, is exactly the ship that we spoke about. It is that entertainment sort of grandstand ship, and for something to be so specifically bespoke is kind of weird. It's not what we're used to. But when you have zero gravity and you have events in zero gravity, or low flying ships like the 890 Jump, if it's actually going to be a ship that can do that going forward based upon fuel economy and all of those kinds of things, a ship like that is welcome. I guess I'll just say as well with the gambling side of things, you really piqued my interest, Algorid, and the whole panel really, when talking about the darker side of how Origin ships might be used, and gambling.
It's not just Origin; it's the whole gamut. That's going to happen to all of them.
Sure,
yeah,
sure. But you tend to have as gangs get more built up. Like look at cartels, right? They're everything from Drake straight through to Origin as far as what they're doing, but they tend to want to, as they get more higher risk in life, want more reward in life. So you end up having those super yachts. You end up having those super cars.
Can I tell
So-
you a little tale? I know it's off the cuff, but it's real, and I will come back to you. But it's instantly what I think of when I think of what I'm trying to convey to you about how an Origin ship could be used. Now, my housemate is originally from South Africa. His uncle was one of the most wealthy men in Johannesburg, right? And he actually owned the penthouse of the tallest building in Johannesburg. And now it is ran by the leader of some massive cartel gangster that lives in his house.
Right.
He has not seen his house in 25 years. Right, he still
Yeah.
owns it, but he can't get there because of what's happened in
Yeah.
Johannesburg. And that's the visual thing I have. Like, so here's my glorious thing, and what has someone done to it and turned it into? And I think that'll happen with all of them. But yeah, sorry, back to you, Stim.
No problem. I was actually born in Joburg.
There you go. So you can
moved
relate
to
to
Canada
it.
when I was 1 year old. But you know, things like in Johannesburg, you've got the ability to upgrade your Mercedes to have bulletproof glass or knives that shoot out the side of the car to cut legs of someone trying to carjack, or flames that shoot up the side of the car to try and burn someone trying to carjack you. Like, these are aftermarket add-ons that you can put on, and they're not really legal, but no one's gonna stop you.
Legal?
The police won't do anything about it. Right. So
unless it's one of them.
And these,
oh, my fingers.
These are somewhat legitimate business owners, you know, not the nefarious organized crime that is doing things like gambling ships. So there's a spectrum of, you know, how and many shades of gray as we move sort of through towards
That's a good point.
organized crime and gambling, and how that's going to end up working in the verse. And that's what I love about Star Citizen is you'll be able to do the light side, do the dark side, and kind of everything in between.
Well, it's really it's a lot more obvious.
Manufacturers don't have to be they don't have to play in that game, because those manufacturers in the real world don't have to play in that game.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot more obvious for something like Drake, but when you go to Origin, because it's more expensive, it kind of limits that. But it's going to affect all of them across the board. You're 100% on point.
Just while I don't think we'll ever see it in game. 890 brothel. You got the 4 rooms.
Possible.
You've got that
Yeah.
seating area.
At least blackjack and hookers on the 8-man jump. I can see that. So yeah. All right.
Blackjack at the tables.
What's the stairwell for? It's lining up all the options.
Oh, there you go.
You know,
I'm never going to look at the 8-dollar jump stairs ever the same way ever again. But Griffin, yeah. What's your thoughts, man? Kind of closing up, like.
Real quick. For me, I've always been interested with the whole discussion / argument in the community about luxury and touring, and I think that in retrospect, I think the thing that I've been most frustrated with is not the fact that people say, well, what is touring or what is luxury? But it's this dismissal of it. It's the without inquiring or even being curious about it. It's almost like as if we've been content with what the gaming industry has given us over the last 20 years primarily, which is combat, right? Yeah. That's been the big thing. And gamers have forgotten what it's like to imagine. And I don't want to say that in a bad way, but I'm being honest.
Some of the younger generation have never seen it, though, mate. That's the other part of it. Yeah.
True. Oh, absolutely. And that's why I say the industry has done that. You know, I'm not blaming anybody, but the industry has dictated to gamers how to play. For those of you who were around back in the day when EA came out, when it first came out, its motto was by gamers for gamers. Yep. And it was legit. It was real. You know, these people who coded were people who were gamers. The owner was a gamer. And now we've gotten into the corporate thing of what they dictate to us what we should play. And we've forgotten what it's like for somebody to make something. I mean, I think this leans itself to the whole thing with Chris Roberts in general. Yeah. When someone comes up in this visionary and says, I'm going to make something you've never seen before. Well, that's also because people have lied to us and made us cynical and made us not accept those terms anymore because we've been hurt to a certain degree, right? We want to believe it, but then we get disappointed when that game we put down money for didn't come out or didn't deliver. And we look at the big manufacturers right now, but
I can relate
Bethesda,
to a lot to
everybody, right?
I can relate a lot to that, Griff, because I was in a group of friends last night, and someone didn't know I covered Star Citizen, and they brought up Star Citizen, and then one of my friends just completely chucked me under the bus and go, "Oh, you know,
Just missed it.
Execute makes all this content for SC," and just threw me under the
Oh.
bus. And he was just randomly spouting all the stuff from the media, and I was
Yeah.
trying to explain how
wrong.
yeah, but I was trying to explain how freeing the no publisher model is as opposed to the publisher model.
Yep.
But by the same token, I can see people complaining how it's taken X amount of years, and we all know it hasn't taken 10 years, but they use the term 10 years, right?
Right.
And I went,
Yep.
honestly, I think it's somewhere in the middle, because the publishers are too strict, but then again, you can see how if it's not managed properly, yes, it can take longer. So I think there is a balance to be struck there.
Yeah.
But
The last thing I
what
want to say
you
is this.
said,
I just want to see. The last thing I want to say is this. I think if we're trying to create a universe, it's like a yin and yang, right? You need the mercenary,
Yep.
you need the pirate, you need the medical team, you need the explorer, you need there's all this stuff that makes the universe big. And if we narrow it down to just what's familiar, and if gamers have forgotten what it's like to imagine and say, hey, let's create, I mean, maybe there's some career we've never heard of before. That's cool. Give it a space, allow it to happen. You never know what it'll add to the game. But if we just stay to what we've known, those 3 or 4 careers, and that's it, man, we're not going to be around long. It's going to be boring. It's going to be the same old thing. And I know it's difficult. Don't get me wrong, because you said it earlier.
You're literally saying what Space Tomatoes says, and that's that there's got to be things in this game that I hate for the things that I love to be there. Essentially, that turn of phrase is what he tries to say.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You got to have the hardcore. No, you got to have the hardcore guy. Yeah, you got to have the hardcore fighter, and you got to have the Care Bear.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, you got to have both of them. If it's all hardcores, guess what's going to happen? If it's all Care Bears, what's going to happen? You know what I'm saying?
There's so many games. There's so many
PvE.
There's so many games like that where they're like, I'll give an example, Hunt Showdown, right? I love Hunt Showdown, but it's a very hard game to get into, and I call it a happy accident because I still think those designers don't know what they're doing, because as the time's gone on, they've made it worse. But it's got a really hardcore audience. But to get to that audience, there's a huge climbing curve. And Tarkov's the same. There are a lot of games like that that are really appealing to that hardcore audience. But then you've got games that go the other way. So I think we could all relate. If I said Fortnite, they're probably a little bit too lax for a group like us because we like it a bit more complicated. And I think we'll all agree the gaming industry, as you're kind of alluding to, Griff, is become more of a puddle. It just doesn't have any depth to it, and that's what we want. We want the breadth and the width. We want the whole enchilada. So
I think that's what makes Star Citizen there, because it is the dream. It is that dream of depth. When you were saying imagine, I just went straight to that imagine.
Yeah, they've brought it in a little bit last year's too. So I think they've kind of realized that they've had to bring in a bit so they can get it out the door and stuff like that. So just wrapping it up then. My pictures,
please, very quickly.
All right.
Just very quickly.
Very quickly. Just a toy with.
I just want you to know that when you
before I go to the pictures, I just want to say I did say to these guys before the show, we'll probably find some common ground, and one of the reasons we like doing shows where people think we disagree with each other is we learn things. And I can tell already I've had an influence on Stim. I don't know if I've had much of an influence on you, but I can tell you both had an influence on me, right? So this is what I was trying to get at, right? So if it's a good show, you get something out of it and you give something to other people. And that's something I was talking about behind the scenes with these guys. And I think I could see that already.
It's been fantastic discourse. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, guys.
Loved it very much. And you can hate me. You can hate me for the thumbnail, but that's there for clickbait, right? That's why that was there, because I knew people would watch.
Cool.
But
it's cool. Stim, I just want you to know that when you have affluence, you can hire detectives to look into people where they're really from. Our detectives with snobs were looking around, and we ran across this ship titled the Executor. Now, no big deal, right? I mean, the Executor, right? But I thought about Executor. Execute, right? So let's go to the next photo that our detectives took here. I was destroying the evidence, Stim.
We know you.
All right.
Sure.
So
no, I clicked on
we go from there, and then look at the front bow of that ship. Do you recognize that, Stim?
Oh yeah.
You see that little logo in the front?
Yeah.
That's an info.
Why isn't the Execute logo? Why is it the Inforunners logo? But
no. We're gonna go. Let's see the more evidence. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Next slide, please. Now that right there,
Yep.
that ought to tell you something right there, right?
That could
But
just be my.
This is Algrid's 890 jump. So I don't know what you're talking about.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the last picture, the pièce de résistance.
This is the
here.
worst.
Let's
By
go
the
to
way, this is the
last one.
worst Photoshop I've ever seen. Look how out of skew this is for the thing. Like I know this is
It's
fake.
deliberately bad. It's
Yeah,
deliberately
it's
bad.
good.
Go to the next one.
Yeah,
Go to the last one.
Right.
That's the last one. Okay. So I just want you to know that all this stuff about not liking the 890 stem, don't believe it. Don't believe the hype.
Right,
That's the end of these pictures. Okay. That's all I wanted to have. So I just wanted to tease
This is the worst framing job ever. This is terrible. All right, so you also gave me this, which is your
yeah,
org.
that's a group. It's actually a group. According to the CIG, they were supposed to be able to create clubs. So this is actually more of a club than it is an org. But it's called Snobs.
This would be a really great cutout, this thing, and you put it over your face so it makes it look like you're wearing a monocle and a beard. You should make that. That'd be great. You know, like the little kids do with the paper plates, but like a.
Well, SNOBS is an acronym. It stands for Ships Not Owned by Scum, just so you know. All right.
That's actually pretty good.
The idea of it, if you scroll down just a little bit, it talks about we have a variety of interests such as champagne, caviar, interstellar traveling, hobnobbing, fine attire, so on and so forth. What we're not interested in: cargo, exploration, mining, piracy, salvage, science, smuggling, transport, and trade. Anything that has to do with work. We have nothing to do with that. Okay.
This should say pirated as well.
Yes.
Anyway, there's a manifesto in there and there's a charter there. So I don't want to just give plugs towards Snobs. I do want to also talk about the 890 Jump Club, which Stim is with. So if you want to talk about that, Stim, you can share that with them real quick.
If you can ship me a link, I'll open it. But
yeah, that'd be great.
Ship me a link if you got one.
So clearly Snobs isn't for the employees on the 890 Jump. It's just
here's the deal. Snobs is actually created to create iterative gameplay. What we really want to do is be able to create a certain level of hate of our group. And that's on purpose. We want to be the 1%ers of the galaxy. And so we want people to come after us when we have events. We will hold events in different locations throughout the game. And the intent is that people may come and challenge us. They may say, oh, we heard those Snobs are going to be having a dinner party over at Goss. And we're hoping that they will decide to come after us, and we'll see who wins. So
is this the right one?
That's it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
well,
cool.
The Yacht Club. Yes.
This one's Yacht
the Yacht Club.
I know these ugly mugs. I've seen them all before.
Good looking people there.
So my question, Grim, was, if Snobs is really for those people who are enjoying and not working, that means it's not including the chefs on the ship, that the 890 that's doing it. So clearly that's the 890, the Yacht Club that's doing that, because they're open to everyone, right?
890 is open to everyone. Snobs is very particular.
Owners and anyone in between.
So let's disambiguate between the 890 Jump Club and the Yacht Club very quickly.
This is him distancing himself. He's just like, what?
No, because it's a very, very important.
There is a difference.
So
yeah.
The 890 Jump Club is for 890 Jump owners. So they are the type of people that really should be in the Snob Club, because they have a lot of fun, and the 890 Jump Club, there's so many whales in the community that own 890 jumps, and they all that's sort of become the hub for whales within the community. And so the idea is that they have all these ships, and so there's this movement to say, hey, how are people in the 890 Jump Club going to be able to crew all of these ships, because that's a heck of a monthly bill if we're paying for NPCs. So the whole idea to start off with for the Yacht Club was actually to try and crew those ships, was to get people together. But then all of a sudden, as soon as we started to see all of the community coming together and celebrating diversity and loving the project, it morphed very, very quickly into being a place where everybody can come, regardless of whether you're a pirate or a Care Bear, and spend time enjoying the project together. So what we ended up doing, and this is going to sound like a plug for Yacht Club, this is not meant to be that.
That's okay.
The motto for it was guns down, drinks up. So, and like, why Yacht Club? Well, everybody's got a ship, whether your ship is a Drake Cutlass or whether it's an 890 Jump. At the end of the day, you pull up to some metaphor of a club. You put your gun away, you grab a drink, or you buy a round for the people you see, or you get one bought for you as you walk through the door, and you're chatting to your friends. You put aside all of your differences, and you connect with one another and you talk about this amazing project that you know and love, and why you know and love it, and why they know and love it. So the yacht club is all about getting together and having a great time. And
so collecting
this
bounties
show,
is not allowed.
Yeah.
not while you're in the club. No,
think-
it's a safe place.
I think we can agree. Algon, I will agree with you. Our Discord is just like that too. It's
Awesome.
it's a place that we promote Discord, but we do get people that come in and they try to disturb that. Not too often, very, very rarely. I'm gonna have to be honest, with other communities I've been in the past, where I've been a moderator or something like that, where I've had to look after it, I've had to been far more hands off, so to speak, with the Star Citizen community than I have any other. And I think you guys can probably
100%.
kind of agree with that. And I it's the same thing when I have been at the yacht club. There's just this camaraderie. The bar citizens, that's something I reckon we should talk about real quick too, actually. Is the virtual bar citizen that I attended, that was hosted by yourself, Stim, but I think you organized it in your Griff, from memory. I'm a bit hazy on that. So you got someone told me it was
the original organizer and was so gracious to bring Yacht Club in to co-host.
7 years, as someone told me. Why the hell didn't I find out about it to this year? Like 7 years. I could have come to every single one of those, and it was amazing. I had the best time. It was just...
Well, no, the bar citizens have been around for 7 years, but the virtual one started when COVID started. So it's only been 3 years. Only been 3 years for those that we've been doing those.
But I loved it. I had an awesome
I mean,
time. Stim he invited me 2 days before, and I got a feeling I got voted last minute, but that's totally fine.
I felt cut because, I heard about it from Execute kind of almost after the event, like on the day.
I invited you through Execute. I didn't reach out to you personally.
Yeah.
I should have.
I
actually thought you were going to be there, and when you weren't, I was like, oh, shame. Okay, well, we got to make sure you're at the next one. At least you know about it. Because it's on a Saturday,
Execute
so that
you missed it, and I went.
That's in Europe and in Australia can also attend.
But when Execute said, you missed the bar citizen, the virtual bar citizen, I said, when was it on? I knew it meant, hey, have you seen this? And I said, nope, not yet.
I did tell you, but I thought Stim was going to send you the link. I said
you did.
I said Stim will send you the link, but obviously Stim thought I was going to send you the link.
Did I not?
Sorry.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
I was still waiting for the invite. So when X said, hey, you're not there, you weren't there, and I said, well,
We'll make sure you're there at the next one.
And Grim was powering home in the car for like half of it the whole time. He was just driving in the car with his mobile phone. It was the best because everyone else is just like static little images. He's got like traffic rushing by and everything.
And the format that Griff has come up with. So first of all, it's a Zoom call, right? For everyone that's listening. It's not a YouTube broadcast. This is about getting together and hanging out. And so because of this format, and because we don't have transcripts being recorded, no one's recording it. It's really a true virtual get together. It really is. And so we have people from CIG come, we have content creators and community members come that are sometimes afraid to be on camera, but are more willing to do so because they're with like-minded peers and they're prepared to put themselves out there. And the format with the panels breaking out, talking about various discussions is great because you end up having a panel in each group. And those that are showing up get a chance to introduce themselves. They get a chance to ask questions that are really meaningful to them as they relate to those topics. And so it's always a fantastic time, really interesting discourse. And then generally people walk away with a better feeling of the project and the community members.
I really enjoyed putting faces to names of people that I've met in the community, but I've never really kind of sat down and have a talk to. I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but I'm not going to call names. The other thing was just, CIG was there. It was a good chance to rub shoulders, and it did feel like a bar citizen. It did feel like the one in Sydney that I went to with you, Algrid.
Which was the first one? That was the first one you'd been to as well.
Yeah,
the first bar citizen you'd actually.
So technically, this was my second. But yeah,
if you're no, technically it was your third because the first one was at PAX Australia at that.
That was before they were called bar citizens, but yes, you are technically correct. I think they're a really, really great opportunity for people that live in a more remote place of the world. And can I be honest, I actually reckon CIG should let you make them official. I think they were that good that they should be promoted through official channels. They were just so brilliant. And it really makes it so the people that can't get places, because there's got to be, like, I'm just going to pick somewhere like Alaska or, you know, or Russia or whatever. You can literally make it truly global. That's the other thing. You can't get someone from Tasmania and you're in Canada. Like, you and I can't get there together, Stim. Like, it's just not possible, you know, but to pull all of us four together alone is great, but like a whole room of people, and as you said, everyone was like-minded. You could ask anyone a question, and it was perfect to be surrounded by your peers. I don't know how else to put it. It was like a warm, cozy blanket. I didn't have any. No one was standoffish. Everyone was welcoming. Everyone wanted to talk. Everyone wanted to learn and mingle and change their perspective. And it's just like this discussion that we've had today on Origin. You know, like, it might sound adversarial from the outset, but when you get in, there's always this common ground. And once you get to that common ground, you can just learn. And I have learned a lot from this discussion. It was great having both of you here. I guess I'll just throw it back out to kind of say goodbye and stuff like that. But is there anything you kind of want to add or pimp? Like, where can we find you guys? That might be another thing that we can pimp, because obviously there's some people that might want to come and check out the Yacht Club. And I know you do the Soul Citizens, Griff. I do have to get around to hanging out with Griffin at some stage, but I will. I'm a very busy guy. We'll set something up, Griff. But you let me know, and we'll set something up.
Cool.
So assumptive that you want him on the show, isn't it, Griff?
Griff has said to me before he wanted me on the show. At least I think he did. Maybe he didn't. I just invited myself.
Just stirring the pot.
Maybe I've invited myself. I don't know. But yeah, I remember Griff saying something about it, but maybe I'm mistaken. But yeah.
Yeah, I tried to get Albert one day, but we had a conflict because he got called into work, and I did tell you, Execute, that, we want to get you guys on. Yeah. So just the hours is the crazy thing, you know.
Yeah, so feel free. But so
we're afternoon and they're like
well, yeah, as we're doing this right now, we started it at 2:30 p.m., which was 11:30 their time. It is now 4:30 p.m. So that means it's, what, 1:30 in the morning for you guys, or later? 1:30?
12:30 for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually 3 hours behind Griffin, so for me it's just 10:30.
So we can keep going. Okay.
All right, we keep going. We're going all night long then. No, it's fine. But
so one of the things just before we do sign off, as you were talking about the Bar Citizen and the way in which those things work, I was thinking it'd be great if you could get something like that working for, say, a CitizenCon, where you had the virtual CitizenCon picking up those types of areas where you could go into a room where we discuss. I'm not sure it'd work.
It's funny you bring that up, because that's exactly what it was, Algrid. So it was about a week or two after CitizenCon, and we went through and talked about every single panel.
But that would, doing that type of thing and having it as an official thing and having people be able to go, because you can't get everyone, even when it's an actual physical bar.
So with the Zoom call,
you couldn't get everyone there.
With the Zoom call, I mean, we had a lot of people. We had 120 odd people, but with the Zoom call, you need a lot of staff. You need a lot of staff and volunteers to handle those different rooms, because you want to limit a room to 30 people maximum, 25 to 30 people. So each room needs at least 2 panelists. Right. So if we're talking now 300, 400 people, it's a lot of management, and it would be absolute chaos the beginning and the end as we're getting in. We could always change the format, but it becomes a little bit more.
Did you get feedback about the panelists and stuff at all? I'm curious, because I kind of got thrown into my first room as a panelist and no one else knew what to do. So I kind of went, right, standing up, I'll take control of this. And then I went into my next room, the same thing happened. Then I went into my next room and I was with Veridity, and she didn't want to do it. Or Veridity, sorry.
Oh, no.
And then so I did it again, and then she did it for a little bit, then she had to leave. So I ended up just kind of doing all the rooms I was in, and I felt like, man, I'm like at a bull at a gate here. I feel like I've just barged in and taken over. But no one wanted to do it. I sat back every time, and I just sat there and nothing went forward. And it's the same thing I do in this show, where I play the bad guy. I went, well, someone's going to play the bad guy. I guess it'll be me again. And I just got it rolling, and I'm going to be honest, the most difficult person, I don't know, I won't say anything. There was a particular CIG person, and I had to cut him off because he would just go on and on if I didn't. you did it yourself. You did it to him as well, by the way, so you know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah. So I had to cut him off as well. But other than that, you know, they were all really passionate. There was no problems. But yeah, I'd be really awesome to do again. I had a whale of a time.
There's lots of learning opportunities that we take away from each one, and we generally do a postmortem or a lessons learned sort of meeting afterwards to see how we can do it. And one of the things we really want to do is make sure that it's not just the panelists speaking. We want to make sure that we have a lot of the community really having that chance to communicate with one another.
Yeah, I was going to say, we didn't get a chance to brief you guys the way we should have execute. You guys got pulled in at the very end, and that was a timing thing. This was what was unusual about this particular citizen con, or bar citizen, I should say. Normally, we have enough people, and we got within hours. Like you said, I was driving around in the car.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have, as Stim said, all the people that we needed to moderate. And then we didn't give you guys enough time to have a general understanding of moderation. And that's the big thing. It is a community-driven event. And the idea, and I have to tell my own people this when we have guests on, let the people talk. They hear from us all the time. Let the people talk. And so that's the thing there. And
that's what I did.
It takes a little bit, because people
Fast Cart told me.
They're also challenged. Yeah, they're challenged, right? Because they see you guys, and they know you're knowledgeable, and some people are intimidated, even though you guys are welcome to hear them, but then they get intimidated, like they don't want to sound stupid, or like they don't know what they're talking about. So really encouraging people to speak up.
Balance of facilitation.
I had to do that a few times.
Versus talking.
I had to encourage people to talk quite a few times.
The other thing I want to say is,
just real quick, I would also recommend maybe you have, I don't know whether it's a separate one or earlier or after, maybe just a content creator one, because then like as you guys know, it's very hard. We're very time poor, right? But if you make an event that the content creators can turn up to, and even if it's only for just half an hour, where it's just us, you can get that all out of our system. Well, you'd have to make it longer than half an hour. You know, we're like, but you know what I'm talking about? Like we get that out of our system, and then that gives us room to let the people talk. Because the other thing is
the snobs edition, Griffin.
I don't know what you call it.
Execute. You hit on something that might be worth considering. I know I don't want to burn your show out, but we might do one this.
We've been closing the show off for 20 minutes, so I think we've well and truly burned it out. But yeah.
Yes, Stim. What do you think about the idea of creating one specifically for content creators? A round table. That might be a little bit more interesting thing. I'm not talking about the community. I'm talking about literally, we've never had an opportunity to bring together the content creators and let them have a round table and talk, and maybe CIG people there. That would be kind of a cool idea. But we can
have CIG people. So
absolutely.
The Yacht Club is kind of like that, content creators rolling from week to week. I mean, we almost each and every week we have between 6 and 7 people.
But I'm talking about like on the scale we're talking about.
It also allows them all to rub shoulders with CIG in a more personal environment. And it would start to build and foster those network relationships that people want to have with CIG. Not only just that, with each other. And I think it would be really good to bring so many people in. Like Albert will tell you, one of my favorite things to do is I go round and look at what smaller creators are doing. And like, that's how I found Space Tomato. Like, and not saying that everything he's done is all him. I just found him early and I knew how good he was very quickly.
That's how you found him.
Yeah. And that's why I brought him in. I'm like, dude, I am so happy to have you in, because I said within 12 months you're going to be bigger than us. And he's like, no way. And 12 months later he was bigger than us, and now he's going to the moon. I think he'll be one of the biggest content creators in this space, bar none. And
so do I. Yeah, 100%.
And I think we should be fostering that in everyone. You know, everyone should have the equal chance to get there. And I think we've been doing shows lately on communication with CIG, right? Space has done one, we've done one, Paul's done one, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit about the show after about that, because you probably want to know a bit about that. But the thing is, I think CIG does have a communication problem, and if we can fix it, that might be it, Griffin. What you've just pitched there could fix everything.
Yeah, and that comes across as different from Yacht Club, even though you do have lots of content creators on, and we often get different content creators.
We had Batgirl on here last week, you know, so yeah, she's back, by the way. Obviously, you got to have her on. Yeah. She's very good.
But what Griffin was saying and what Execute was picking up on is that kind of a virtual bar citizen with CIG and content creators. How do you qualify as a content creator?
I have something to say. Griffin, I really like the idea. When an idea comes up, I try and think of, what are people getting out of it, right? What is the desire to attend? What is the desire to put it on? And when I look at that, I see the desire for the content creators is to get access to CIG, the desire for CI and recognized by CIG as a content creator and have that chance to kind of grow within that space and get well known by the company.
CIG
for
gets
CIG,
feedback.
They get great feedback. They also get the opportunity to talk about some of the ways that they can work with content creators, like promotional ships, promoting their events, that kind of thing. Like huge. Give me a second. Let me finish. What
I'm thinking though is we wrap this up and we keep talking about this because this is now way outside the purview of the show. And as you said, we're kind of a bit of burnout. But I do want to keep talking personally because we've just told these people something we're going to organise that they can't go to, so they're going to be annoyed. So I'm going to sign it up. Again, like this video if you like this video. Ring the notification bell. Wait, I'm trying to get this thing to play. There we go. Yeah, like if you like the video, dislike the video if you dislike this video. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, turn on all notifications. If you want to go the extra mile on Patreon, you can do so. I've added some new roles on Patreon with a very exclusive one-off right at the top.
Those who like Origin may like to look at those.
Yes.
Leave a comment. We'd love you to leave a comment. We do read on Inforunners. We do read every single comment you put. We may not respond to every single comment, but we actually do read every single comment. And
I'd like it if Griffin and Stim, if you could check in on that in just when you got time for this episode.
Certainly.
I'll put it out this week. It will be coming out on Monday your time at about I think it's like 8 a.m. I'll double check, but it's around that time. And if you can check it, and people may have comments for you, but I think people will relatively be surprised at this. So at least the first half of it, this last half, they were like, "What the hell happened?"
This is no longer Origin.
Yeah. But so is there anything, just real quick, would you like to hear from people in the comments, Stim and Griffin?
I'll just say I'm really happy to respond to any comments. Do me a favor and at me in the comments.
We've got handles now, don't we?
Yeah, so that it pops out, and I will 100% respond, assuming it's not a troll question or what have you. I think it's Stim_Citizen, okay. But I need to check that. It might just be Stim Space Citizen if you're allowed spaces.
What you'll need to do is when it comes out, Stim, go in and leave a comment, and then we'll see your handle.
There you go.
There we go.
Griffin,
and that'll feed the algorithm as well.
What about you, Griffin? What would you like to hear?
Yeah, just love to always hear comments from the show. I mean, I check out you guys anyway, so I read your chats already, so it'll be nothing new. But no, I look forward to any comments that anyone has about especially about Origin and their thoughts about the touring and luxury stuff we talked about. That'd be great.
I think likewise, Griff, leave a comment, and then people will know who to.
So I don't know about Argrid. I'd like to hear, did they see some change in us today? Because I definitely saw some change in myself, and I definitely saw a bit of change in these two boys as well. And Argrid seems to be about the same. I think he's the wisest of us all. He just knew all along. But yeah, Argrid, is there anything you would like to hear before we?
Yeah, just what do you guys think about Origin? Are they as just one-dimensional as so many people think? Do they engage in full-on exploration, or is it more the touring aspect? And I know they've got other ships beside the 600. They do have a 315p, so they have a bit there. But where do you see Origin going? What would you like to see Origin go into as they expand into the other gameplay loops?
All right.
And what about the entertainment side? Like, what kind of ships would you want to see in the entertainment aspect? Because I can tell you, for me, it's not the Mixmaster.
All right, we've got 40 seconds before this is the longest episode we have ever done, so I'm signing off now because I can't have that on my conscience. All right, with that, he's been Griffin Gaming RPG, he's been Stim, he's been Arrogant, I've been Execute, and we'll all catch you in the next one.
And we'll catch you next time.